Do the work before the work. Well, hey, it's Jenny Wallach here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And recently I have read this little book that packs a lot of power and purpose, and that is called Exactly What to Say by our friend Phil M. Jones. Now, many of you've probably read Phil's book at this point, but have you extended your education a little bit further and diving into his actual certification class? Well, luckily for you, I have twice. And so that's what today's little lesson is all about. So something that Phil shares with us is to do the work before the work. And what even does that mean? Well, I got to experience it and put it in action recently. So although I've been in real estate for 24 years, I have over the past many years grown my real estate team that I share a lot of the buyers and the sellers with my team and with my agents, which I love doing, is helping them grow a big business inside of our world. And recently, though, I have been working with more buyers and sellers, and I love it because I'm really in the action and having the real conversations that you are having as well. So now with my education and new knowledge from Phil on how to do the work before the work and his frameworks, I have used this one most recently, and this is the story I want to tell. So I had the opportunity to go on a listing appointment recently, and this was referred by a friend, a local friend, so a warm referral. We're not best friends, but it was an acquaintance that shared my information with this seller. Now, I knew though from the start by having a phone conversation that they were interviewing agents. Now, I was really excited for this opportunity because I got to put the work into action that I had been learning about. So, what I did was the appointment was on a Sunday afternoon. And so, before the appointment, I opened up my calendar in that same time slot, that appointment slot, and just to the side there, I added a note. And I started asking some really curious questions, the things that I didn't want to forget to ask them while I was there face to face at the appointment. Now, let me back up and start over by saying that I already knew from the conversation on the phone and asking some great questions that they were already on the market. They were listed with a limited service broker. So, therefore, they had their home on the MLS. It was now 30 days on the market and they had not gotten an offer yet. They'd had good activity. They even had an offer that they did not come to terms with. So they had been doing the work. Now, what do we sometimes think about a for sale by owner and why they're going that route? I don't know, but my mind always seems to think that it's because they want to save the money. Well, if I'd gone into this appointment with that attitude or mindset, I probably would have failed. And I'm glad that I didn't because instead I just wrote down important questions I wanted to ask. So here were the questions that I asked. What is your experience in selling a home in today's market? Well, the truth is that, and he said this right away, was, well, not very good. I've had my home on the market for 30 days and it hasn't sold. All right. So, when was the last time you sold a home? Now, this is where I got to really discover that it wasn't necessarily about the money because when I asked about the last time they sold the home, they started telling me about the experiences in the past had been friends of friends that they'd bought or sold from, and so they were always warm relationships that they never had to do a full on marketing plan and strategy, whether buying or selling a home. Because I followed up with, well, how did that experience go? And so they told me the stories of all of the times before. Now I said, help me understand what happens if you don't have the home sold by August when the kids need to start school in your new city. See, I knew that they were moving to the Dallas, Texas area, definitely out of town and far away. That took a lot of process and energy for them to make this move. They had three boys that were all in elementary school, and so it was important for them to get them there, settled, and ready to go before school started. So I could feel the urgency that was creeping in for them because when I was with them, the timeline was getting pretty darn short. And I was able to point out that when we work backwards from when they want to be there, we probably got to move swiftly to get them to achieve their goal. Now, I then asked, what do you understand about the relationship between days on market and sales price? And by the time I got to this question, of course, these questions were not, just thrown at them, nonstop in their face, but rather in a flow conversation. When I got to that last question about the relationship between days on market and sales price, he said, I know where you're going with this one. And we just kind of chuckled. And I said, well, just curious if you have an understanding of what that typically looks like. Well, in the end, we wrapped up our appointment. I did know that they were interviewing another agent, another top agent in town. And I was extra pleased whenever I did get the phone call that they chose me to help them. Now we got right into action. We got them their pictures taken immediately. This is the good thing about working with an experienced agent who has lots of relationships and referrals because we were able to get the pictures on the calendar super fast, get them on the market, and guess what? In just a day, we had 4 offers. 2 of them at or above listing price, and one of them, in which they chose, closed in 30 days. They got to get moved just in time because we helped them pre-sign, we helped them with their inspections and their repairs, so it was easy breezy on their part. And I felt the immediate gratitude right after closing when I received a 5-star Google review from this family that otherwise would still be sitting here in Tulsa upset that they did not achieve their goals. They did not get their kids started to school on time. So it's all because I've learned to slow down to go fast. Sometimes it has to be messy in the conversations and you have to go slow instead of assuming what you think is the reason and the motivation behind why they're making a move. So I hope this is helpful in giving you some tips or ideas of slowing down to go fast allows you then to really understand, deepen your connections and relationships. And it builds so much trust when they knew that I had empathy toward their situation and all I wanted to do was to help them achieve that goal of getting moved by the time school starts. So let me know what you think. Are you implementing this idea of later today? I'm going to think about what I have going on later today. I'm going to write out all the questions that I don't forget so that I'm able to have a really great conversation with people and really get down deep into what matters most for them. I look forward to hearing your answers to this question, and I'll talk to you soon.